everybody, it's me, Margaret, and I'm here with another sustainable sewing project that I've been having fun doing. These are wine bottle gift bags, or basically they could be any kind of gift bags. I saw this idea on Pinterest and thought it was so cute that I had to try my hand at it. I actually began to practice with a different shirt. It's actually made of a more casual material, sustainable fabric. As a matter of fact, it's from REI, if you're familiar with that company. And I liked the more casual look. I didn't think it needed a tie. I was thinking like it had its own little personality. But this one needed a tie, I thought. So that's that. But this is more of a sew along, I think, than an actual tutorial, because the steps are not exactly as rigid. 1, 2, 3. You can watch me as I'm making my decisions about, oh, how do I want to do this? Would it be like this or that? And maybe that'll give you your own freedom to put your own twist on things. So I hope you enjoy it. So the first step is to mark 14 inches from cuff down the arm. And I will take one of these disappearing ink markers and put my little marks right here. Then I have it lined up straight. So now I'm going to take my ruler and line it up against the marks that I've made and my cutting board so that I'm actually cutting straight across. It can be confusing because a sleeve is not two straight parallel lines. It's straight here across the top, and then it comes out as it goes down to the underarm. So we've got the sleeve. We'll put this all away for another day. And the next thing we want to do is take the buttons off the placket. Eventually this is going to be made into what looks like a collar, so we don't need these giant buttons on our little mini collar. So remove your buttons. Save your buttons, you're going to use those later. Okay, the next step is to turn this thing inside out. We're going to have to make some seams, and we want to press it if we need to so that the placket itself is in the center. So situate it. So you got some pleats you have to work with over here, kind of finagle. We're basically ignoring the pleats, but we want to press it so that the placket is in the center of the thing. Now what's going to happen is that this seam over here, that underarm seam, is actually going to wrap around. That's okay, because we really want the placket to be in the center. When we fold our little collar down like that to look like a shirt, just put it like that. Now let's go press it. Now you don't have to be too meticulous about the cuff collar yet, because we're going to go back and actually work hard on that when we get to that point. But right now we've just set it, put the seams. Boom, what's next? Now this is just an average wine bottle that I am using for my pattern making. And the width around the circumference is actually 9.5 inches, just give or take an eighth here and there. So we really want it to be loose enough that this comes in and out easily, right? Well, lucky for us, it's open right here, so that's easy enough. So at this point right here, in order to make it fitted like a slim fit shirt, we're going to have to take this in because it gets really, really wide. And it ends up looking, I don't know, just like a baggy mess if we don't taper it in like a fitted shirt. So 5.5 inches is the magic number. Alright, so let me show you what I'm talking about. This is 5.5 inches. So we're going to cut off everything outside of 5.5 inches. This method of centering the template is handy because it guarantees the right width no matter what size shirt you're working with. To go about 3/4 of the way down and mark your thing like this, notice that I chose to angle it up toward the cuff, being careful to stay away from that seam. You don't want to make any unnecessary work for yourself, so keep that cuff untouched. So I can do a quick mark like this. Then I'll turn it around like this since I'm right-handed, because I want to trace like this, and I'll pretty much do the same thing. I'm just going to keep it straight from my mark to the end, and then I just want it to sort of taper up. I kind of like it like that, so I'm just going to leave it right there and make that mark. And now I'm going to go and sew along the seam lines that I have drawn on my fabric. Alright, so I'm back. I've sewed my straight seams down like this. And if for any reason you feel that you need to check, now I'm using a boy's large shirt right here, so I don't know what size you'll be using, but if it'll make you feel better, if maybe you have a different size bottle, go ahead and check it at this point. Can you get it in and out easily enough? You could even take it in a little bit more here if you wanted to, but I like this. So you'll want to go ahead and finish your seams some kind of way. A serger would be great if you had it. I do, but I just didn't feel like doing that. Cut it on this side. Now you have a couple of options here. You can go ahead and sew a straight seam and then box your corners if you want to. I've tried that and it's fine, but I found that I liked a curved seam down on the bottom better. For some reason it made the shirt look like it was tucked in, or maybe it's my imagination, I don't know. Now this day and age I rarely use my china anymore, but I have found it comes in really handy in my sewing room. This gives me a variety of curved edges that I can use in my projects. So you grab one of these and you check the curve. You look at it and you see which one you like. I kind of like this one. It goes up pretty high on my seam line right there. But let's try a bread and butter plate. I'm not sure which one I like. Salad plate and a dinner plate gives us a very wide curve. I think I'm going to go with this saucer from the cup and saucer set. I've moved it up. I think I want about a 1/2 inch seam allowance down here. So I'm sort of centering it between my stitching lines, and then I'll trace around the edge. And there is a curved bottom. So I'll go sew that. And then I'm going to pink around my curve here and clip my threads. Now let's turn it right side out and press. I really want this little cuff that's going to turn into a collar to hold up well, so I'm going to starch it. Kind of like to smooth it down. Look, I sprayed some on the ironing board. I'll soak that up too, because I really want this to look like a collar. You want to put some time and effort in your ironing here because you want your little wine bottle to look sharp when it leaves the house. So now I'll fold it out in half, and you'll see the buttonhole right there. That's a good marking place for exactly where you should fold it. And now I'm going to iron it down to create more of a shirt collar look. I don't like that. Let me clean that up. This is a little tricky where you have those pleats on a cuff. Because we took in the sides, I messed with those pleats. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle them around to see if I can't make that look a little better. Okay, I like that. Let's go try it out. Okay, so here's how it looks so far, which is getting cute. Now, normally a proper shirt, of course, would have its buttons up here, right? As if it were to close the collar properly. But we're going to use a little creative license because, let me just pin it closed here for a second so we can see my point. But if we try to close it, like button it right there, then you have this big opening and it just, I don't know, it just looks weird. So what we're going to do is make our bottle look as though it's relaxing for the night. So I'm going to sew my buttons on about right here, and our bow tie will kind of hang a little low. So let me go do that. So for the bow tie, you want to pick out a piece of contrasting fabric, and you want it to be 4 by 8.5. Then we're going to fold it right sides together like this. And then we're going to sew 1/2 inch seam allowances, but leave an opening at one point. So I sewed all around, pivoting at the corners. I've trimmed the seam allowance, cutting off the corners right there. But notice that here where I'm going to turn it, I usually leave this long because I find it easier to tuck in after the fact, and then we'll sew closed right there. So let's go ahead and turn it inside out, or rather turn it right side out. Get something to help me poke out those corners. Now let's go ahead and press this flat. Now you may want to take it back to the machine and stitch this closed right here, but I just happen to have a little stitch witchery handy, and I ironed it, you know, that glue stuff that you stick in there and iron it and it melts and it closes it. So that was good enough for me. Okay, so this will be the bow tie part, and then you'll need some ribbon, or you could make this little center part right here out of your other material, either contrasting or the same material scrap. But I think it's easier to use ribbon, so that's what I'm going to do. 7 inches just to make it easier to tie, and about 9 inches of elastic. And so you kind of gather it up like this and tie your ribbon around it. Don't get too wrapped up in how it looks just yet. Just get it tied one time. And afterwards you'll arrange it like you like it. Then put your elastic in there some kind of way and tie another knot very tightly. And you arrange your bow tie, hiding those little things in the back like that. Now you can snip the excess off. I kind of like to do it at an angle. They say it reduces the raveling, but you could also hold that over a candle and it will burn it too to stop the raveling. And then we want to tie a square knot in this elastic. And you can trim that a little bit too if you want to. Then we slide the bow tie over the collar of the shirt, loosening it up a little bit because you want it to look like he's relaxed. And here's a more casual style without the tie. And of course you could dress it up with maybe a birthday button, or, you know, a button for the occasion. So these are just 3, but of course your options are endless with the different shirts that you could recycle. I really like the fact that each one of them looks like it could be a completely different person. So you could sort of customize your gift bag for the personality of the person who's receiving your gift. But I don't know, it was fun. Hope you liked it. And as you might expect, YouTube is filled with great gift bags to sew. And here's a playlist of a few I'd like to try on my quest for new life for old items.